NDAA, National Defense Authorization Act, that Obama has called for and signed stipulates that even American citizens can now be targeted by the military, picked up, and imprisoned.
Last night I dreamt about how things were.
Of every enemy of the state!
And then I woke up here.
Terrifying virus you can, and then imagine that you and you alone have the cure. But if your ultimate goal is power, how best to use such a weapon? It's at this point in our story that along comes a spider. He is a man seemingly without a conscience, for whom the ends always justify the means, and it is he who suggests that their target should not be an enemy of the country, but rather the country itself. No one would have predicted the results of the election that year, no one. And then not long after the election, lo and behold, a miracle. Some believed it was the work of God himself, but it was a pharmaceutical company controlled by certain party members that made them all obscenely rich. A year later, several extremists are tried, found guilty and executed, while a memorial is built to canonize their victims. But the end result, the true genius of the plan, was the fear. Fear became the ultimate tool of this government, and through it, our politician was ultimately appointed to the newly created position of High Chancellor. The rest, as they say, is history.
Can you prove any of this?
You guys know what this represents? Well, it's the calm before the storm.
What's the storming?
Could be the calm before the storm.
What storm is
We have the world's great military people in this room, I will tell you that. And we have great people. Thank you all for coming. Thank you.
What storm, Mr. President?
You'll find out.
Alright, forgive me for starting the video off the way that I did. I'm not trying to induce you guys with any fear or nothing along those lines. I know a lot of you viewers out there do not want to see martial law come to pass in this country, myself included. But I just came across some information that kind of states that that's what they're looking to do. They're trying to implement martial law under the table. But I found something from Rolling Stone. If you guys seen this already, just bear with me because I got some other clauses and acts and stuff like that that you guys need to hear that this kind of bumps up against and pushes out of the way. So it says here, the Department of Justice has asked Congress to craft legislation allowing chief judges to indefinitely hold people without trial and suspend their constitutional rights protected rights during the coronavirus and other emergencies. So they want to act something that's going to take your constitutional rights away during this emergency and other emergencies. That's the key word, other emergencies. Now, it says, but the Constitution grants citizens habeas corpus, which gives the arrestees the right to appear in front of a judge and ask to release before trial. Enacting legislation like the DOJ wants would essentially suspend habeas corpus indefinitely until the emergency ended. Further, the DOJ asked Congress to suspend the statute of limitations on criminal investigations and civil proceedings during the emergency until a year after it ended. So now you got to sit in jail until the crisis ends. Who knows when the crisis is going to end? And then when the crisis is over, you still have to wait a year for the judges to even touch your case. So they pretty much want to lock you up indefinitely. Now that is high crimes in my opinion. That's definitely unconstitutional, but we're going to get into that right now. So this is martial law. This is how martial law is right now. Martial law is a position of direct military control of normal civilian functions by a government, especially in their response to a temporary emergency such as an invasion or a major disaster or an occupied territory. Martial law can be used by governments to enforce their rule over the public. So they can enforce the rule over the public, but they can't really do what our police officers do. This is the Posse Comitatus Act. The Posse Comitatus Act states here, it prohibits the use of the U.S. military to perform the tasks of civilian law enforcement, such as arrest, apprehension, interrogation, detention, unless explicitly authorized by Congress. So they can bring in martial law right now, but they can't do no detaining. Like I just said, they can't do no arrests or interrogations or anything along those lines unless Congress gives them the go-ahead. Now that's what they're trying to do right here with the DOJ. They just try to put it under the table and pass by. That way, when they bring in martial law, which is what they're looking for, obviously, because they would be trying to push this right here, this document, under the table so they can bring in martial law. So that's what they're looking for. You guys need to watch out for that. Pay attention to what's going on with these guys. They're keeping you looking this way with all this, the stimulus package and the coronavirus, and they're trying to keep this stuff under the table so you won't see what's going on. But if they get that passed through, I guarantee you they're going to implement martial law down the line shortly after. But right now, we're under Title 32. Title 32 of the United States Code outlines out the role of the United States National Guard in the United States Code. It is one of the two ways the National Guard can be activated by the U.S. federal government. Under Title 32, National Guard remains under control of the states. So right now, the National Guard controls all the states. Obviously, they're helping out and they're doing their things and such and along those lines. They want 18 months to combat coronavirus. Now, let's just take a thought on this. This doesn't make any sense. Why would you need 18 months to combat the coronavirus? China had only 3 months, and I think they started the big quarantine in about a month and a half in with their quarantines, and they have over 1 billion people in their country, and they got everything done within 3 months. They got all their people back to work, and their manufacturing and stuff like that is up 90%. So all their stuff is up and running just within 3 months. And now they're trying to say we need 18 months. We don't need 18 months for that. We only have 300+ million people in this country. I don't understand why they would want this much time, but I'm guessing they would want this much time because that's how much time they believe it's going to take to round up, in my opinion, the dissidents, the people they see as militant against their agenda, like patriots and stuff along those lines. So I'm thinking all this stuff is playing into a factor, which is why I started the video off with Trump saying, "You knew I was a snake when you let me in." Yeah, he can play the nice guy and do all the things on the surface, but at the end of the day, they always got something going on underneath the table, and those are the things we need to pay attention to. And on top of the police that are releasing these low-level inmates, they are actually not responding to certain calls, unless they're like life-threatening calls. I'm hearing stuff like in Philly, they're not allowed to come to calls for burglaries or grand theft and stuff like that. That's pretty bad. You know, the criminals, they're gonna capitalize on that. They hear that stuff on the news. That's just gonna give them the go-ahead to go do more crimes and get away with it. So if you don't have guns and stuff and ways to protect yourself, I would advise you to go ahead and step up that area and get your homes protected with some way means necessary, and get some kind of security systems, because it seems like it's gonna get kind of ugly out here. And if I'm gonna be on quarantine, I want to be able to see what's going on around me. So I think it's best that we all got our security cameras and stuff along those lines and weapons we're gonna need to protect ourselves with. But not only that, we're having issues with our local governments and stuff. It says here we have our local governments, state governments, and mayors calling for curfews. Obviously, that's that we're probably going to need a curfew to keep people from going out and potentially spreading the virus. So that makes sense. They want to stop sales of guns and ammo. Okay, that doesn't make sense. Why would you stop sales of guns and ammo during a time like this? People want the ability to protect themselves because they do not know what's coming to them. So that's dumb in my book. And they have the ability to come into your home and take your possessions, take your land, shut off your power and water. We had some kind of confrontation out here in Florida where they were cutting off people's powers during this pandemic. And then there was a big argument about it. I'm going to go ahead and pop this up on the screen so you can get a good look at what was going on with that. Check it out.
We do better. There's always things that pop up that we can do better on. And I call the question.
I'm sorry, that's not how this works. We each have an opportunity to speak 5 minutes.
I thought we did.
Yeah, the question's been
I'm
called.
I'm sorry. And that's not how calling the question works. You need a second and you need to vote on it.
Then I have a second for calling
so
the
are you
question.
telling me that you're going to keep me from talking right now?
You've talked all evening.
Look here. You're calling me disrespectful because I've interrupted people, but this gentleman has turned off people's lights in the middle of a global health pandemic. That's what that gentleman did.
Point of order.
And you think I'm disrespectful for interrupting?
Point of order.
This gentleman has had the ability to do any number of things. We could have banned large gatherings. We could have closed the beach. We could have put a moratorium on utility shutoffs.
I recessed.
Also not within your power, and the attorney has held that that's true.
I recessed the meeting.
You came up with new rules at the beginning of the meeting, and then you didn't even want to follow the rules that you came up with.
And you took advantage.
This is a banana republic is what you're turning this place into with your so-called leadership.
Does a recess mean that we will be...
Yes.
Camera on that?
I don't care anything about this.
Camera on that?
I don't care anything about this.
Does
We
it-
should have been talking about this last week.
Can
We cut off people's utilities this week and made them pay what could have been their last check to us to turn their lights on in a global health pandemic. But you don't care about that and you didn't want to meet. But every other year you go around and beg people for their votes.
Can we explain
But
the
you care
recess?
more about your relationship with that guy than you care about the relationship with the people who don't go to work in this building.
Order! You were done. You're done. You're done. Disrespectful.
It's disrespectful is what you've done to the working people in the city.
I didn't do anything.
You failed to act.
I didn't do anything.
When you're a leader, you failed to act. You said you didn't do anything. You failed to act when you had an opportunity.
Party for State House.
I don't care anything about that. You think anybody cares?
Does a recess mean that we can reconvene tonight, or... Okay.
All right, now that was pretty entertaining. That was a commissioner letting the mayor know what they were doing was wrong. And that's good. I mean, it made me feel good inside because there's actually people in office who really care about the people of the state that voted them into power. Now, clearly the mayor didn't give a damn, or the guy from Duke didn't give a damn. But he put him in a place because I can assure this video went viral here in Florida. And literally Duke came out with a letter saying that they will not be turning off people's lights during this pandemic. Not only would they won't be charging late fees. So that right there made a difference. See, that's all it takes is one person to make that first move for us to see what's going on in the world and everybody make a stand. So that guy put them on blast, and I'm very thankful for Omari there for doing his duty for the people. We're gonna go ahead and move along to my next order of business here. Now, as far as the stimulus package goes, a lot of us was looking forward to getting that. I mean, you guys know I'm a preparer. I'm always prepared. I practice what I preach. So my family, we're good. But at the same time, there's a lot of families out there who are not so good. And I'm going to tell you from my experience, when me being out in the streets, I've been asking questions and jobs and stuff like that. And literally, there are restaurants out there in Florida. I'm not going to say where because that's going to disclose my location. But these people literally fired their whole staff, and there's some restaurants that fired half their staff. And Publix is another place that's supposed to be like the great place to work for. Told them they're not going to cover them. They're going to have to take all their sick pay and their medical leave and all that stuff for money because they're not going to help them anywhere along those lines, which is a bad company in my opinion if you're not going to take care of the people in their time of need and you're a big company. But the package didn't go through. It didn't get voted through. It was 47-47. I believe they needed over 60 votes to get this through. The Democratic Party are saying they don't like the fact that that the care package, the stimulus package, was more for the business and not the people. I mean, at the end of the day, you guys are trying to do this little debate thingy and trying to get your fame up for the next election. As of right now, the American people do not care about any of that. They need their money. They need it now. So let's quit the bickering and crap like that, because if you guys can get this stimulus package out, and if it's not enough, then you can do another one. All right, for the time being, let's just give these people who in need the money they need so they can get to the next day, because a lot of these people can't pay their bills, and I know a few that can't. So that's bad for business right there. And if you see a lot of these trailers coming up in your town, like portable trailers, don't be alarmed. Those are not concentration camps or anything like that along those lines. They're like walk-in clinics and drive-through clinics. Only go to those clinics if you feel like you're actually sick. If you're not sick or you don't have any symptoms or anything like that, do not show up, because we don't have enough test kits. I'm talking we like I'm one of them. They don't have enough test kits to get the job done. So just if you're sick and you're showing signs of the illness, then go ahead and head that way if you see those portable trailers set up anywhere before going to a hospital. In my opinion, it's kind of funny how all this stuff broke out right after there were riots all over the world, and now those riots are no more because of this virus. Now that's what makes me another reason to think that this is a bioweapon. These people in power, these elite, were getting pushed back by the people because people were getting fed up with what was going on with their political agendas within these other nations, and then the people started to rise up and raise hell, and they couldn't handle it, so they had to find a way to shut them down. And I believe this virus was a way to shut them down, and I believe the virus is a way to try to shut the American people down, because they were getting pushed back, like I said, here in America as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and end it with that, and I just like to thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys are all safe out there, and God bless.
the death of Ayatollah Khomeini 30 years ago that crowds like this turned out to mourn a week. In life, Qasem Soleimani was celebrated as a military commander. In death, he's being saluted.
About 3,000 American troops are on their way to the Middle East as reinforcements. One thing is for sure, any war with Iran will not look like the Iraq War.
Against Iran. For its part, Iran denies any involvement in the protests. Tonight, U.S. Apache helicopters sent flares into the sky as all sides wondered where this goes from here.